guess we're skipping the intro. All right. Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Season 5 of the FRS. I am going to be your host, AWD Turbo Guy. Alongside with me is Kim Rodolas, our Season 3 Xbox Division 2 champion. Kim, how are you doing today? I'm doing quite well. I had that, you saw it, the Division 2 shambles. Not a better way to start off the Xbox side of things. But after our third lobby, third time's a charm, it worked out in the end. I myself didn't do too bad. But yeah, here we are in Australia watching people on some outlaps. But I hear that you have some facts for us about this lovely country. Well, then in that case, we'll just go ahead and ride on board with the man who has put together a wonderful broadcast package that I struggled to get ready because, it's just, what better way to start this out than with a bunch of shambles, both on the broadcast side and Xbox Game 2 as Quimby starts it out. Of course, this track has 16 corners. I believe that the run down to turn 1 is one of the fourth longest. It's the fourth longest on the calendar this season. Still just going to wait for chat to tell us if they can hear Kim or not when we get a chance. But, what did you make of the Division 2 race? I know that you saw it yourself. I think you watched a different stream. And I've just realized that I haven't even pinged everybody, so there might not be anybody in here to tell us that they can't hear us. But I'll do that real quick. While we continue to ride on board with Quimbulus, I saw that he got a little bit squirrely heading out of, I believe it was turn 4, possibly? That the sweeping right-hander, as we see Stan here pick up a 5-place grid penalty with Nemesis there. All right, so then we'll go ahead and swap you on over to Discord, hopefully here. All right, well, while we wait for Kim to go ahead and join us, sorry about that. Again, like I said, we have had a lot of changes so far to start this season for us. Couldn't hear Kim. Don't know exactly what that was as I continue to panic and fill some stuff here, some last minute changes. Where is Kim going to be? Apologies for all of this as I find here on my list. Expecting a lot of share that with Kim. Looks like he's with us. Alright, so Kim is seeing the screen while I try to figure out how to make it so that we can hear Kim. Let's see here. Would that be... Oh my gosh, this is absolute shambles. We'll go ahead and ride on board Death Star Null, a new guy who is joining us here. As we I can hear you now. Yeah, we've got that. I still need to figure out how to capture this specific Discord audio. But yeah, this is, wow, Div 2 just seems to be rolling on in, right on over to Div 1 stream. Turn that down. Okay, it looks like I have hopefully figured out audio output capture. Discord. Device, that's... Yeah, terribly sorry about this as we wait to get this going. That's not going to help.
I mean, I went to your channel to try and see if we could hear me, and then it's got a fucking 30-second ad at the start of it.
I've made it
Giving
big
you
time.
Yeah.
It's saying these headphones. Oh, this cannot go well. That's not going terribly, I'd expect. Let's see if, as a matter of fact, we can hear us. It sounds like we're picking up multiple audio feeds right now, so I'll go ahead and move that down. Oops. And now we've lost it. Okay. Hopefully it doesn't sound too weird. Does it sound too weird on your end? If you're watching the stream there?
I mean, I can't hear it at all, but let's just hope pray that you can hear me at least.
It does sound like I can hear you. Or at least it looks like Discord's picking us up. So if you can't hear us, let us know in the chat. Again, apologies for this. Just put together very last minute.
We'll just carry on as normal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does look like it is picking up your audio. At least on my screen is what it's showing. So I will try and make this bigger for us. And, yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, wow. Currently, LC Fighter sitting at a 121. I know that last season he had not the greatest qualifying here in Australia at Albert Park. As we see the traffic starting to ramp up a bit as people are going out for their second hot laps now. Yeah, I haven't gotten any kind of notifications that people can't hear you, so I guess that's a good thing. We'll just continue on as we look at, wow, the two Aston guys currently sitting P1 and P2 right now. That is quite impressive, especially considering that MJ Povey's not really anywhere near them. Those two guys are pretty close, and the 121 ones, and MJ Povey's nearly 4/10 back to both of those guys. Yeah, I believe that Nemesis took the pole last season, as Navy just invalidates his flying lap there, and he's going to back out now while we hop on board to MJ Povey now. Yeah, and do you know who was the only other driver to take a pole here in Australia for Xbox Division 1, Kim?
We're talking about Season 1, then I'd rather not answer.
Oh, was it Season 1 that a particular Alfa Romeo driver took that pole?
Alfa Romeo?
Yeah, wasn't it Mr. Boomy himself? I know that he has a pole here.
I'm talking about your lap record in Season 1.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, it
lap record
117, and I said to just put me at the back of the grid, and I remember I think it was NGP Racer was thinking that I was being cocky, and I was like, no, I'm not going to make it up the grid at all. So.
We happen to have the best esports driver of all time. Just hop into FRS for the first ever race.
Exactly.
That's all the F1 drivers. they didn't stand a chance.
Just saw right into the
Bit of FRS history in the first ever race. You got to respect it, really. So,
Division 2. It started out with Shambles season 1.
I mean, Australia's got a funny place in FRS Xbox, because we've also had the race that never existed in season 2. So, yeah, it's not the best starts here. Habs got a podium there that never counted. He took, what was it, about 2 seasons to finally get another one, which happened to be a win in Japan. Season 3, I think it was. Well, I think it's hard to look past last season's champions who stayed the same team, like the Aston Martins, Velsey and Nemesis. They've obviously, the first impression, they've won 2 at the moment. Obviously, what everyone might not know is LC's been preparing for this qualifying session for about 3 months now on time trial. So it's been, I'd say it's expected that if he wasn't at least front row, it would be a disappointing effort. But you've also, I think, Williams have got a good shout this year. Once Brenshaw's back, it's a quite a good team they've got. I think there's lots of competitive teams this year compared to last, really. Yeah, so Stanya is, well, I think he's going to be starting in the back now. I believe he has a 5-place grid penalty for an incident with Nemesis, which I think involved. So I think early in the session, Stanya spun and was in the middle of the track. So I'm not sure whether Nemesis actually hit him or not, because he's obviously now got a grid penalty that will condemn him to last place in the grid since he's retired in 15th. They've got some kind of ship name, Zunna. Oh, no one's really interested in what it is, but they'll call themselves something, I'm sure.
I'd imagine this is probably going to be the last lap that he is going to be putting in for this session. So a lot is riding on this one if he hopes to make any kind of dent and split those two Aston Martin drivers as he comes up towards the final corner here, the final two corners, of course. The corner, turn 16, is a very tricky one to put power down, but Povey seems to be able to keep it pretty stable and will be able to cross the line. And he does provisionally take P1, but Nemesis is in the pits, and so I'd imagine that he's going to be able to put in another lap time, and as we ride on board with LC Fighter, who is currently on a flying lap right now.
Yeah, it's the pressure moments for well, at least LC at the moment. And we're not too sure Nemesis is going to get out for another lap. It's going to be close if he does go. He's coming out the pits right now, so hopefully he'll get another lap. And there'll be a straight shootout between what looks like the Aston Martins. See if they can better Povey's lap.
Yeah, the one good thing for Nemesis is that he does have a clear track ahead of him in terms of drivers. It looks like there's an Alpine driver who is on a cooldown lap, I'd imagine. So he doesn't have to worry about traffic as we see LC Fighter put in a purple sector 2 there. I missed exactly how far up he was on his pace, but yeah, I gotta say myself, I would be heartbroken. Now I think it's pretty well known that I am an Aston Martin fan on this stream for whatever reason, but I would be disappointed if LC didn't get it, especially with, of course, the 3 months of time trials that he's put in just at Australia. So he rounds the final corner now, opens up that DRS, and he's approaching the line as he crosses it, and he takes pole from Povey. So that is going to be NJ Povey off the top step at the starting grid as we see, oh, he actually might have enough in the tank. I see his ERS charging up, so if he has enough fuel, he will be able to give it another go here. But he does have Nemesis howling right behind him as Povey does go to the pits.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested, head over to General Xbox or Div 1 Xbox, see what Povey's excuse is, since he's not on pole. There's going to be one. So if anyone's interested, just head over to one of those channels and have a look for yourself.
I have my money on. He doesn't have a qualifying setup. He has his race setup loaded in. That's what I'm going to put my money on as we're riding on board with Nemesis, who was able to cross the line just in time, coming up to that very tricky turn 3, and he nails it perfectly. No kind of any lockups that we see as he is just cruising right now. And he crosses, he's up a 10th. He is up a 10th, but he does not take the purple sector there in sector 1, but it will be pretty interesting. Hopefully we can see, I mean, of course, unbiased, it would be cool to see an Aston Martin 1-2 here to start us off, and it makes you wonder if how this is going to play out in the long run with Brinchell missing this first race.
This is going to be close. Nemesis just needs to keep a clean lap and hope for the best. It's going to be a tight one. He's got a clear track in front of him. Everyone's done, so it's just him and the track now.
Coming up to the final 2 corners, how is he able to hold it together here? No lockup. Nails that apex perfectly and is not struggling to get power down at all. A perfect final
He's invalidated.
He invalidates on the final corner, runs just a bit too wide, was a bit too aggressive. So NJ Povey, in the end, was able to split the 2 Aston Martin drivers. Wow, I gotta say, I was expecting Nemesis to be one of the WDC champion contenders, as it looks like Jinx hasn't validated his lap as well as he crosses the line. So that's going to be our final lineup. But I am shocked to see LC Fighter on the top step because I believe he was 5th on the time trial leaderboards for us. So even though he put in all that sweat,
it's paid off.
It did pay off.
Yeah,
in the end.
Everyone mocks it, but he's just silenced everyone, putting it in P1. Absolutely. I'm not sure if that's his maiden pole or not. I am not 100% sure. I actually think he's got good 1 lap pace, so probably it's not in my facts about him.
Yeah. So that's exciting. So now, not Nemesis, but rather LC Fighter's just going to have to find another 3 months between here and next Saturday to be able to take pole again at Silverstone, I believe is the next track that we have.
Yep.
So I don't know what's going on. Oh, the timer has started counting down. Okay, I didn't know if we were having some sort of... Oh, Hobbs is
the one.
Okay.
He's just cutting the corners. He just wants to get it over and done with. Send the session. We should also probably shout out the driver formerly known as Falcon in P4. That's a pretty good result for him. Last season, I think this is his first full season. He got 2 podiums last season, so he'll be looking to build on that and try and get a win. He's put himself in position for another podium in this race, so one to look out for.
Absolutely, and you can't rule out a safety car. I mean, we saw it with Division 2 is probably an anomaly, of course, for those 2 safety cars that we had. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had one today with the track, the way it's designed, it kind of forces a lot of very close wheel-to-wheel battles, and so you get a little tire touch, and somebody could be spun around the wrong way and into a wall and force a safety car. So I think strategy will probably play a big factor here, as Australia isn't really known for overtaking on track, at least that is. But that's going to be your standings there. The top 3, LC Fighter, MJ Povey, only split by 0.03 of a second, and Nemesis 0.2 back. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on now and get ready for the race. And as I try and get you in here, go ahead and add an audio output capture. This is core. All right, so with that, so seeing the results that we had now for this race, Kim, what do you think is going to be happening for these drivers in terms of strategy for the race?
Well, you would have thought I would have done my research on the strategy. I did not, so I'm just going to guess people are going to do soft medium or soft hard, unless you want to mix up a bit. I think it'll be interesting to see how well the undercut plays here. It could be, I think we saw with Lima Bean in the Div 2 race, he tried to go for the undercut but got a bit stuck in traffic, and I think he actually lost out in the end. So it'd be interesting to see how people play it. Obviously, I'm saying all this now, and there'll be a safety car on lap 4, or something like that. Last season, if I remember, there was quite an early safety car in the race towards the end of last season. So someone will just drive into a wall at one point. It's bound to happen.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of tricky corners where if you just put the power down a 1/10 of a second too early, you can find yourself caught out. Thinking of the new real life corners that have been repaved. What is it, turns 10 and 11? That little chicane right before the 3rd DRS zone. That's a very easy one. I saw in Div 2, we saw guys drop it there quite often. And then also the final corner is a very tricky one. So you can easily pick up understeer and find yourself up against the wall, the outside wall, as you head onto the start-finish straight. But it'll be quite interesting. I was told you have facts and you've continued to hold them back. And I think it's time. It's time for a new segment on the broadcast. It's Facts with Kem. So every week I'm just going to go through some facts of the country. The country we're racing at, as well as the track. So for Australia, we've got the capital is Canberra. There's a population of estimated 25,892,000. 3 times as many sheep as people. Really?
You might be thinking no, but the internet would not lie to me on these facts.
Are you sure you're not talking about whales? Did you not type in whales facts?
Honestly, it's a possibility. Voting is compulsory for over 18s, so good luck. The Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest organism. I nearly said that wrong. No one heard it. This one's a fact. It was voted the worst country to visit by Novak Djokovic. That's just pure facts.
Yeah, I too would probably vote against it for spending a lot of time in a detention center or wherever he was held. I probably wouldn't have.
Apart from that, I'm sure he had a great time. Apart from that part, he had a great time. And then we've got some facts about Albert Park itself. So this race is 29 laps, as you can see at the top left. It made its debut in 1996. The race was won by Damon Hill. Estimated 290,000 hours to assemble. The track length is 5.303 kilometers. And we've got some past winners. So in 2018, it was won by Sebastian Vettel. 2019, Valtteri Bottas. And 2020 2021, it was won by a new up-and-comer named COVID-19. Dominate the race. None of the drivers had a chance, really. That's the facts with Ken for this week. They'll be back for Britain. I'm sure you all enjoyed them.
I know.
Especially the Novak Djokovic one. Everyone enjoyed that. I'm sure.
Yep, and we'll see. I suspect that might be a little bit of foreshadowing for the French Open. Although I don't know if I wonder if we're going to be racing around the same time as the French Open, or if at France or not. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I hope it makes another return. But I say that, but I hope COVID has actually gotten better since then, in terms of not hurting people and putting them in hospitals. But
well, I'm sure Novak Djokovic has learned from the best. He probably listened to a few Joe Rogan podcasts. He's probably immunised, taken all the horse tablets and all that, so he's probably fine with it. He doesn't need vaccinating.
Exactly. I mean, think about the good that he was doing, helping naturally build up immunity for others by attending, public events after he tested positive.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's just a great humanitarian when it comes to that. But anyways, it looks like...
there's a race, isn't there?
Finally, we've stalled enough time. Well, not stalled, I wouldn't say, because those were actually...
What are you trying to say?
Those were pretty good facts,
What are you trying to say
honestly.
about the facts from Ken?
Because I know that this is technically a street circuit, but I think it's only open to the public, or at least you can drive on it, for like 3 months of the year, or something like that, if I remember right. But anyways, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, a hold, and they are off, as this is a bad camera angle, but it looks like all the front 2 drivers have gotten a pretty decent start. But the greatest start of all comes from Max as he overtakes Nemesis, as they're making their way around now, heading up to turn 3. It seems like everybody's made it through so far to that very fast right and left-hander of turns 1 and 2 as Povey makes a move up into P1 now at turn 3. With Nemesis right behind, of course, going to be affected by that dirty air, just allowing MJ Povey to overtake LC Fighter, even further, as now Nemesis fights back with Max as they go wheel to wheel. So far a very clean start from all these drivers, as LC Fighter and MJ Povey are still going at it. LC Fighter just absolutely sniffing that oil coming out of that Mercedes-powered Williams there, as they're coming up to turns 10 and 11, I believe that is. But LC's doing a great job just hanging on right now, as we've had an absolutely brilliant start. And it looks like Nemesis is looking to make a move alongside Max as well. Who's going to be the one that breaks later? They both are going side by side as they come to the final few corners right now. And it looks like Nemesis is going to have to back out as Max had the upper hand.
Oh, we've got Habs fan Nickers around. There's a big pile-up in the final corner.
Oh yeah, it looks like he had a little bit of contact, or at least I saw he at least collected Issei as he spun around as Povey crosses the line with 3/10 ahead of LC Fighter. But they've already developed a 1 second gap between those two guys as Golly Mooms heads into the pits. Does he have some kind of wing damage? As it looks like those Alpine guys were replacing the wing. Looks like he was missing a little front end plate there. As we head back to the action at the front, as LC gets a little bit squirrely there. These two Aston guys are fighting against these two drivers. And wow, it feels good to be back watching these Xbox Division 1 drivers going at it.
I mean, yeah, it's a good start. We're starting to see what could potentially be a season-long battle between Povey and essentially the Aston Martins. But Falcon is holding on for dear life, but he's holding true. He's still in the second range to LC. So yeah, he's the early show for most improved. I know we're 2 laps into the season, so it's probably a bit early. But yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah, and we're riding on board a little bit with the quads, but it doesn't look like
Nemesis dives down the inside. They're going to go side by side again, and
a little bit of a switch back there.
We should stop calling him Falcon. Nemesis's tactic here is just dive and hope it sticks.
Yeah, some great racing between these two drivers. As you can just see Nemesis fighting with his life. And I do remember him saying that he was just planning on seeking a bunch of time when it came to talking about continuing the Speedway event series. I know that Nemesis really, really wants to win it this season in terms of the Season 5 championship. And I gotta say, I would be happy if anybody was able to topple MJ Povey. So I'm putting my money on these two Aston drivers right out the get-go. As we look at Bacquaz, it looks like he does dive into the pits and replaces with a new front wing. On screen, it didn't look like he picked up too much damage. I know that he was dropping a couple places here and there. Yeah, I guess it was enough damage for him to have to come into the pits and pick up a new front wing, as now both Alpine drivers are out there in the bottom 3 positions.
Yeah, we've got 3 drivers at this point already praying for a safety car, and the field is, there's like a few groups starting with the field. As Nemesis picks up a 3-second time penalty already, lap 3 and having 3 warnings. It's, well, let's say it's not the best start.
Yeah,
I've seen better.
It does look like he does have a bit more pace than LC Fighter. It really just was Max, I guess we'll call him, formerly known as Mid-Falcon, as we see Bacquaz retire now. Was that
in a virtual safety car?
Virtual safety car. Okay, so it looks like he might have dropped it out of that tricky, what is that, turn 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that very tricky turn 4 that you can put power down a little bit too early and just lose it, run too wide. There are a lot of death curbs around this track. As we see some people heading into the pits now, we see Max coming into the pits. We'll go ahead and take a look at what kind of tires they're going to be fitting to the car. As Max is the only one who's opted to head into the pits for the mediums.
I'm not a big fan of this strategy. I think it's a bit too early for the stop. If it was a safety car, I understand it a bit more, but the problem is that you're not going to catch up to the pack. So you have to make up the time now because you're essentially a pit stop behind everyone. So not the biggest fan of this strategy, but we never know. We just never know, really, do we? Anything. And he didn't get the best of restarts after the virtual safety car ended anyway. So it's all gone a bit wrong, potentially. I don't want to jinx him. It's happened many times in the evaluation races. I say something like, "Oh, Voki hasn't got a penalty yet." It would pop up as I finish the sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking to avoid.
It looks like we have 2 pairs of teammates going at it. We have the Ferraris racing each other while Gloverino just concedes as Haas Fenix is on the quicker tire, and we have Nemesis and LC Fighter still not necessarily battling, rather Nemesis just hanging on to the back of LC Fighter. And it looks like LC is breaking the toe, and he does break lift off.
Yes. I think that was the play, to be honest. You better just leave your let's say faster teammate. He's giving a little weave now, Nemesis, to say thank you. But I think that's what everyone wanted to see, didn't they? Povey versus Nemesis, and let's just start it at round 1.
Yeah, and it's really great. I'm still a bit confused as to how Povey ended up in P1, as it didn't look like he just had an average start, but there was enough mistakes behind him and in front of him that he ended up able to hang on to the lead. And I guess it's just one of his talents that he has through and through, is just consistency and his minimal mistakes that he makes. So as you can see, it's paid off so far, 5 laps in to this race down under.
The Nemesis, after being set free, is a purple sector 1 and 2, and he's visibly got the gap down. It's under a second now, so yeah, it looks like the plan is starting to pay off already within a lap for the 2 Aston Martins.
Yeah, and even with letting Nemesis by, it looks like Nemesis isn't even going to try and help LC get some DRS, even though LC will be getting DRS, but it looks like Nemesis, it really is just a battle between the two. And of course, I think that LC can probably expect, as we see Nemesis puts in the fastest lap, but his ERS is already flashing, meaning that he's going to be under 10% battery and it's going to be deploying a little bit slower, so he's going to be down on power, but he does have that DRS to help pick up some top speed there, as he's going to have to probably wait. Was see it so close there.
Well, wow.
Heading into turn 3 between Nemesis and Povey, but man, the brakes on the Aston just saving him from a little bit of front wing damage or picking up some kind of penalty for Nemesis.
We have Stanya in the gravel, just rejoining from the gravel in turn 1. So I think there was an incident. I think it was around Habs and Cameron at the time. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, Stanya will be looking to improve on last season. I think by his own admission, would say it wasn't his best. From the previous season, he was flying around P4, P5 at the end of the races, towards the end of the season. So he's just been looking for that first podium as MJ Povey has gone wide off the track.
And he squeezes Nemesis off the track, but Nemesis gets that move done with just barely over 10%. And Milo points out that Spin Wolf, our Division 2 champion, currently sitting P5, hunting down Quimulus right now, but we're going to have to ride on board with Povey and Nemesis in the meantime to see Nemesis without any kind of ERS, Povey with DRS and ERS. What's going to happen? Is Povey going to make a move here or wait later on to turn 3?
Well, I think in the grand scheme of things, that is the first crack of the season. Nemesis was putting on pressure, and he just lost it coming out of the chicane. He's probably lucky to catch it, to be honest. Otherwise, you're spearing straight into the wall and your tyres are flying off.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's now got to rebuild.
Yeah. Speaking of tyres, it looks like Nemesis' rears might be a little bit too warm, and I've seen his rear step out on him just a little bit, but he's able to quickly recover as he tries to pull a little bit farther ahead of Povey. But Povey, just looking at him riding on board, it looks like he just has a lot more confidence than Nemesis. It looks like Nemesis is treating this as if it's do or die, while Povey's just happy to be cruising along with the inputs on his steering wheel right now. As we'll go ahead and swap on over to Spin Wolf, looking to make a move and attack Quimulus right now, 4P4.
So I'm going to take a punt saying Spen's playing is on pad based on what he did on the evaluation race on his wheel. So it wasn't the best of evaluation races for him. Comfortably last is how I'd evaluate it. So coming in and back in Div 1 for the first time since season 3.
Yeah.
And already in 5th place, I feel like a switch to pad has happened.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm honestly kind of happy about it because he does have some very good front-running Div 1 pace on the pad. As much as it'd be fun as we see Quimulus now with his ERS lights on, as Spin looking to make a move so much later than Quimulus, and he's able to get that move done. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Spin is on the pad.
Yes.
Now already has pulled out 5/10 just in 2 corners on Quimulus, as well as getting that position as he's putting up 600s. He's already 600 on his first sector 1 time so far.
So I think what we're seeing here is a lot of drivers obviously feeling that the key to this race is track position, which it probably is about Australia. There's not many places to overtake, and if you do, you're risking it. You're risking some contact at least. The DRS zones aren't particularly long, or the corners aren't particularly brilliant to get the move done. So if any move will probably be fought quite a bit, side-by-side racing. So yeah, I feel like track position is the substantial thing at the moment.
And speaking of track position, we see Hobbs Van Nick getting a move done on Max now, heading into that final DRS zone, and he is able to hang on, though I did see his ERS lights flashing. So a lot of these guys using a ton of ERS, and I think that just proves your point, that these guys are just really hunting down that track position and trying to keep people behind. Because like you said, it really is difficult to overtake. I mean, this track, I feel like, really is what inspired DRS. That DRS really is just to be able to keep people up. As we have
Nemesis up pits. Nemesis is pitted, so he's the first one to blink. Surprises the leader going into the pits first. You said that is he might be struggling on his tyres, but unfortunately we didn't have the tyre performance graphic by AWS, so we weren't able to see. I think Issa has front wing damage as well. I think it was the cause of the yellow flag, and he's taking a bit gingerly around the corners.
Yeah, he does have both end plates, and it looks like all planes are there. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not all there.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. He's
Well,
missing. I say he's missing the apexes just a little bit. He's a little bit off.
you'd say missing
Little
the
bit.
apex. I'd say trimming the grass, doing a good job of helping keep
Mhm.
this lovely country looking beautiful. But yeah, I'd expect him to be coming into the pits, and yeah, that's just, yeah, he's likely the cause of that yellow flag that we saw right out of that
Yeah.
final corner.
Povey and LC in the pit lane now. So we'll be interested to see where they come out compared to Nemesis. In fact, the top four are in the pits. And Spenwolf has picked up a 5 seconds penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, everybody opting for the medium tire. No surprise there. These tires should be able to make it to the end. Probably down on pace a little bit, as I think the best strategy would have been able to try and eke those softs out to lap 11, but these mediums should probably be able to make it no problem, as we see Max looking to make a move on Cameron Slater now in the Alfa Romeo. As Cameron Slater now goes back, and they are side by side, right behind MJ Povey, who came out of the pits as well. These guys on 6-lap-old and 9-lap-old mediums. Don't know how that. Oh, that's because Max pitted underneath the virtual safety car. So yeah, I was a bit confused.
I'm still not sure it's the best idea. I think he's hoping for a safety car at this point, obviously towards the end of the race, because I don't think the mediums are going to take him that long, and he's essentially with him and LC, it's pretty. Has he jumped him? I think he's jumped LC in the process, but yeah, obviously LC's going to come fighting back with fresh tyres.
Yeah, we have sector 1, but
I think it was Issa again.
Around there. Yeah, it was one of the Alpha Tauris, but as far as I can tell, both of them seem to be doing just fine. No problems with grip from either of them, so just a little bit of a Cody's feature for us, I guess you could say, as Nemesis is looking to make a move on Death Star Null right now.
I'm gonna make the assumption that they came close to contact in the second to last corner, because the gap. When I switched to Nemesis, I'm not sure if you're on board with him, but when I switched to him, it was nearly enough stopped, and then Povey gained by a second. So I'm not sure there was a close call there, but obviously we've just seen the overtake be completed, and he's going to go after Habs, I don't think he's pitted yet, and he's taken the P1 position in the track where he got his first fake podium in Season 2.
Yeah, so far the only drivers who have yet to pit are going to be El Gloverino in P8, Hobbs Fennick P1, and Death Star down there in P3. But the good news for this, as we see cars
Max is in the wall. Well, when I went on board to Max, and he was wall riding, and he dropped a few positions, so I think it's him, and I think he might have front wing damage.
Yeah, he's missing that front left end plate there on his wing, so man, even
Nemesis has picked up another 3 second time penalty. That puts his total to 6 seconds already, and Povey has not got any. I'll have a check if any warnings for Povey. Povey has no warnings as well, so yeah, this 6 second deficit already for Nemesis to try and gain somehow on Povey.
Yeah, the good news for Nemesis is that Povey does have some traffic ahead of him, but I'd imagine that these guys are probably, as I say it, we see, oh, no, excuse me, I was running on board with the wrong Red Bull. Povey does get an overtake done on Death Star, Death Star, but...
Death Star, that's Death Star. Making his debut, Death Star.
Yeah, and he is doing pretty well. Granted, he hasn't pitted yet. He started out on those mediums, so he's probably going to be going a bit longer, but he'll just be that much quicker at the end of the race, and hopefully has a nice debut here in FRS.
I think this lap's a pretty crucial lap in the grand scheme of things, because Nemesis has to try and build that gap as much as he can, and I'm going to presume that at the end of the lap either Habs pits or Povey will just overtake him in the straight. So he needs to try and build that gap as much as he can, because obviously he needs all the time he can get because of the 6 second time penalty. So I think in the grand scheme of this race, this lap right here could be quite a crucial one to decide the winner.
Yeah, looking at Hobbs, I mean, Povey, even in the dirty air, just seems to have much better control of this car, so those softs are certainly giving out on Nick, as Povey was looking to make a new move.
Ooh,
Hobbs Fennick locks up a little bit.
Oh, and he's in the wall.
He's gone off.
Was he in the wall?
He's got
front wing damage. Yeah, he's got front wing damage. So that'll be him in the pits this lap.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Even if
it's
he didn't
definite
want to
fucking
pit,
damage.
He's going to be forced to pit now because of that damage. But yeah, I'd say that's probably those softs just heading off on him. So now it's going to be MJ Povey with clean air to hunt down QX Nemesis for the lead of this race.
I think that's helped Nemesis a little bit because the gap is a bit bigger than I think it would have been. So I'm not sure if Povey obviously lifted a bit to try and avoid him coming back on the track maybe. So yeah, this is the race now basically. We presume there's no safety cars or pit stops to go, Nemesis has somehow got to try and find the 6-second gap he needs to win, barring Povey not getting penalties, of course.
Yeah, and that's going to be a pretty huge roll towards the end of the race because they pitted nearly that maximum limit that these tires are going to be able to go this race, I'd imagine. And so Nemesis trying to build that gap is just going to hurt his tires even more in the long run. And you look at MJ Povey, who's just casually cruising, just has to stay in that 6-second window, not pick up any more penalties, and the win will be his.
Yeah, so Nemesis's tyres is a lap holder, so that could be something that comes into play right at the end. I know it's one lap, but he would have been pushing quite hard on that lap to try and build the gap as much as he could. But the gap seems to be stabilising a little bit. It's around the 2.6 second mark, so they're very evenly matched, and both have very little ERS to go with it.
One good thing that might come of this is that Nemesis does have his teammate with him this race, as we see Death Star Null pitting now, freeing up LC Fighter to go chase after MJ Povey.
Scrap the Null bits. We have a yellow in Sector 3.
Might have been one of the Alpha Tauris. It looks like Jinx has been ghosted, although he did leave. Not sure what that yellow flag was for.
I'm quite surprised the AI didn't just drive him into the pit lane, to be honest. And I'm quite impressed. They love to just randomly pit you if you leave. we saw in the Div 2 race as well with someone that they just got forced into the pit lane. It's probably Casmira's for this, since he obviously had the race of hell with his power cuts.
Yep. Lots of power cuts for him. I was kind of nervous. I kept seeing him come on and come off. I didn't know if he was quitting and then rejoining a little bit of Nemesis or Belgium last season, but
that's not.
But come to find out, it was just power. It's the typical power cutting out, I guess. But looking at the tire life right now, Gloverino is the only one who has yet to pit so far, and another notable ones will be the two Alpine drivers who had to pit early, picking up some wing damage on the first 2 laps. So yeah, Gloverino doing pretty well so far there in P5. Looking sharp, I'd have to say, with the Ferraris this season.
He loves a round one. Last season in Bahrain, I think he started near enough last. Had the hards on probably 95% of the race and made it into, I can't remember if it was P3 or P4 at the end. I know he was quite high up there. He got some good points for the moving forward awards towards the end of the season. I think he won. I can't really remember. I know I should be able to remember, but I'm pretty confident he won. Yeah, I'm pretty confident he won. I obviously know you won the Div 2 one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't forget that.
It would either be him or Quimulus, who he just got overtaken by now into P5. But I think looking at that gap, when Quimulus did overtake Gloverino, the gap to Death Star was about 11 seconds, and now they're already down to 2 seconds, just a second and a half later. And Gloverino seems to be working those tires kind of hard, or just the mediums aren't working for him. Although I guess I should note too that Death Star is on some brand new soft, so that might be another factor as to why the gap is coming down pretty quickly. So I wouldn't expect Gloverino to be pitting this early on in the race.
I'd expect Issa to retire at the end of this lap and give up, to be honest. He's been in the wall again in Sector 1 and he's had probably the worst season starter you could imagine. He's not got any front wing at all. He's driving the track like corners don't exist, banging off the walls. No front wing in plays. Do you know what? I'd be surprised if he makes it to the pits. That would have been achievable. We'll give him 25 points if he makes it back to the pits.
That works for me. Whatever it takes to help stop MJ Povey's reign. As we see Hobbs Van Nick round as they were battling it out there for the final points-paying positions. Him, Cameron Slater, and Vogie. We saw Hobbs Van Nick that ended up spinning the wrong way round, and now Max gets retired from the session. His car seems fine, so it must have just been an unhappy quit from the session. Might have picked up damage running into a Ferrari. As Hobbs Van Nick seems to have made it out scot-free relative for the mighty spin that he had.
So Falcon, formerly known as Falcon, has retired on track and was quite clearly not in the driver briefing earlier. It was clearly stated nobody can retire on track, and they should do what Issa just did and painfully drive around the whole lap and then retire in the pit lane. Not the best start.
Pretty good battle between those three for P9 to P11. But they seem to have predicted some kinds of retirements. Issa was kind of expected. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to see him because he had a wonderful qualifying. He was up there in P3 or P4 at one point, and it looked like his pace was going to be pretty strong. At least his one lap pace was going to be pretty strong. But I think Australia is just going to be one of those tracks that's more a war of attrition like we saw in Div 2. And it certainly seems to be carrying over on into this race as well, as Cameron Slater's picking up DRS, heading on to Vogie in the Alpine there, but is going to have to wait at least for one more DRS zone.
So in an update for the battle for the lead, the gap's actually grown to over 3 seconds, but if you were looking for an exciting outcome, Povey still has no warnings, so he doesn't really need to. Just what he needs to do here to get the win is basically just keep it on the track and make sure he's got a 3-second deficit. Basically, he should be fine. I'm not jinxing him. He's going to win. He's going to win. We should play the national anthem already. We should play the national anthem. He's won.
I forgot to get that set up. Yes.
I can blast down the mic. I can blast down the mic like a YouTube quality clip.
But like Bonhomme rightfully points out, that they're just going to be hanging on. Povey should just only hang on behind Nemesis, not make any more mistakes, just keep it perfectly clean, and not pick up any kind of damage, not spin around possibly, avoid all death curbs, of course.
Wouldn't a safety car be awful? That would really ruin the race, wouldn't it?
It really would. It absolutely would.
Really would, yeah. Everyone would hate it.
Yeah, I would be very disappointed if its safety car popped up. What else? Oh, I don't know. If LC Fighter didn't catch up to MJ Povey, that would be fine by me. Just throwing every kind of commentator's curse that we can to stop the terror, the reign of Povey. These past 3 seasons now, are we going on to?
He's the back-to-back-to-back champion, it's getting a bit boring now, isn't it? Someone needs to just stop him.
Yeah.
Someone needs to be stopped.
And, it might be kind of some mind games, too, for Povey just to be hanging back so close to Nemesis, just saying, hey, I have this race won, even though I'm behind you by 4 seconds so far. That's going to really anger Nemesis, I would imagine, if I were in his shoes. I know it'd make me upset, at least, so.
Well, I'm going to have a look at the warnings now, and he has. Everyone stay calm. He's got a warning this lap. He's trembling. The pressure. He's picked up a warning, and he's got 10 laps. He's got 10 laps. He needs 2 more. We can do it.
I gotta say, Gloverino in the pits. This would be a terrible time for a safety car to come out, as
it really would.
comes into the pits as well. So I'd imagine that Golly would possibly be looking to pick up a pit as well. As I believe his tires are probably 17 laps old now. I'll go ahead and pull up the specs on him, and I am wrong. They're 3 laps old. So I guess somewhere in there I missed Golly pitting for a new set of mediums. So as his teammate's going to be coming out behind him on a fresh set of softs, as Jinx's car continues to stay out on 10 lap old tires. So the AI has yet to pit. And Leverino is very close behind Stanier. I gotta say, I'm rooting for both these guys for a good result this race. We've seen Stanier struck with luck. They're struck with bad luck last season. He drove so well last season. I can't remember in particular what race it was where he was on for a podium, and then he either just dropped it, picked up an unfortunate penalty, or some kind of disconnect. But yeah, I would really be happy to see these guys do a nice job so far. He's looking ahead. Nemesis, that gap built up to 4 seconds now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Povey's decided he's got this one warning and now playing super conservative and just making sure, obviously keeps on the track as he nearly drops it. I think I might just be blind. Obviously, the gap's around the same. I think I'm just going insane.
Yeah, it looks like he's picked up 2/10. Yeah, wow, that gap's climbed up a little bit. It looks like he might have made a little bit of a mistake.
And Stanier, you've jinxed him. It's the first one of the season. He's the first one of the season. He's pitted.
We jinxed the wrong person.
He's pitted, picked up a 5-second time penalty in his last.
Sam, please forgive me. That was we tried to put it on Povey. I promise you. You can go back and watch it. We tried to put it on Povey as we have an Alpine round now.
Oki on just, is it freshish? Yeah, freshish softs.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be awful? I'm saying, if that's safety car. In fact, if we want Povey to lose, we don't want a safety car, do we? So let's just forget about the safety car. No safety cars. Don't need one of them.
Yeah, that gap up front. Nemesis finding pace. I don't know where he's coming up to some back markers now. And hopefully he's able to keep it, so that he will be able to pick up some DRS and be able to use that to further increase his gap and put a little bit more pressure on Povey, as it looks like LC isn't making any kind of inroads on Povey ahead. So it really is just a battle between the two up front. Really just a battle between Nemesis and the penalties so far.
I think we need to give a little shout out to the reigning Div 2 champion. Obviously I have the record for the most amount of wins in Season 3 Div 2 history. But the Div 2 champion is Voki is in the wall and front wing has been destroyed. It's the lap of hell.
Is that going to be enough debris on track to trigger maybe a virtual safety call? That wouldn't really help us right now.
Yeah. Well, Jeff will be talking to them.
Yeah.
It was like there's debris on track, but we don't think it's enough for a safety car at the moment. He'll be telling Nemesis, we're thinking, please no.
As Nemesis coming up to the final corners now. Oh no, he's already passed it. Excuse me, that's LC who's coming up to the final corners. Maybe hoping for a nice little free pit stop, but yeah, that's one more car out of the way for Nemesis, as his ERS is looking not great. However, he continues to build that gap on MJ Povey. He's just second and 3/10 away from that gap. How many warnings does Nemesis have so far for his third penalty? Actually, don't look at it. That's a jinx coming in. We'll just ignore that.
I'll just keep that to myself. I do know what it is. But I'll just keep that information to myself, so when it pops up, I can't get blamed.
As we see Death Star making his debut, he's coming into the
Death Star. I think he just got the strategy wrong. He was stuck on the mediums and had to pit to the softs, so it's caused him to do a 2-stop, obviously, because he couldn't. I think he pitted just too early for the mediums. But he's going to cut the pits, and he's going to have some points on the table. He's going to come out in 8th place, and with the fresh soft tyres to go to the end, he's got a chance maybe even picking up a fast lap at the end.
Yeah, and everybody behind him on 3 seconds of penalties, with Stanier and Voki being the exception with a bit more. So he doesn't have to worry about that for the time being. As I mentioned, penalties. Somebody picks up penalties at the spin now. With 8 seconds worth of time penalties, so that at least spin will at least bring home a P5, and that, yeah, the Div 2 debut, that's pretty exceptional for spin to have been fighting for P4 for so long. So yeah, and I gotta say, Quimulus continues to be an underdog in these championships. I always forget about him, but he just somehow always sneaks in like a top 5 finish at the end of the season, and he just always flies underneath my radar. So try and pay a bit more attention to him this season, as he's doing pretty well and looking possibly at a P4 finish if he can get some gap torn out.
Yeah.
Spin ahead.
Yeah, I don't think he's picked up any wins in FRS, which is quite surprising, but he just keeps it so consistent. He brings home the finishes and gets the points to give himself a good championship position. Last season he had 2 podiums. I think he finished P5 in the championship in the end.
That sounds about right, somewhere around there.
We have a flying Death Star at the moment. He is flying, and he's going to be looking at a realistic chance of P7. Sorry, P6 probably, with El Glavarino and Cameron fighting in front.
Yeah, with his soft tires. And Glavarino does have those fresher. Does he have medium tires on? Doesn't he? Oh no, he does have soft tires on. Excuse me, I
Soft
saw that
strokes.
wrong. Yeah.
Cameron is going to be a sitting duck. He is on hards compared to Death Star's fresh soft. So I'd expect a pretty easy overtake. Probably now, to be honest.
Yeah, he should. If he doesn't get it done in this long left-hander here, he should be able to get it easily done in
I think
DRS.
he's setting it up. I think he's just going to set it up. I think we did a quick fight. I think Stanya and Cameron got penalties there, but yeah, this is going to be. Oh, he's fighting it quite well. He's going to dive from the inside.
He's able to
get it done.
Yeah, and Cameron
Extra grip.
positioned his car well to be able to not let Cameron be able to fight back. Looking back at the front, though, we see that gap still kind of around 5 seconds for
Have some unfortunate news. We have completely missed it, but Nemesis has another 3-second time penalty and is now on 9.
Oh no!
It's a needs near miracle. I think we either missed it completely or it was in that quick fire one. He got 2 warnings in the last lap as well, so he's just gonna. I think he's just pushing now. It doesn't matter anymore about the warnings. He doesn't have to care about them anymore. So he's just gonna try and just go for it to the end. It doesn't really matter now. He's just somehow got to pick up the 4 seconds.
Yeah, we saw that gap tumble uphill, I guess. We were over 5 seconds for a little bit there. But yeah, so far it's looking
He's
like...
another 3-second time penalty.
Oh no. Yeah, it's just falling apart there. We'll go ahead and jump over to Nemesis and see if he has any kind of damage. It might be because he's approaching some back markers here of Stanier right now. Of course, taking the ultimate esports strat of just trying to drive through them rather than around them. But around this track, that's not the best idea, as you kind of need that downforce. But yeah, and Stanier's just refusing to get out of the way.
I think he's closing his eyes, to be honest. If you can't see the blue flags, then you don't have any blue flags. He is just not getting out of the way.
Really?
And it's not helping him. It's just not helping him, is it?
I would say it isn't, but that gap is now solidly over 5 seconds to Povey
True.
behind.
And he's going to get DRS.
He does need a Hail Mary for this to be able to work.
Well, I think we should be honest about it. Povey needs to crash. He needs to crash or have a breakdown on the warnings, really. He's still not got... no words. He's still not even got one. A penalty. And I think Nemesis needs to be a bit careful and get more penalties, because LC is only 16 seconds behind, so 3 more seconds and then he's in the danger of dropping to P3.
Yeah, yep. Taking a look at the closest gaps on track between Death Star now and Glavarino ahead of him, along with Cameron Slater and Hobbs Van Nick. But I think Hobbs has pretty much secured that position, and I'm not going to jinx it. I was going to say something about Glavarino holding on because of penalties, but I'm definitely not going to say that, even though Death Star has now put in a pretty fast sector. He's 3/10 up on his fastest lap, and he's been flying.
When you're Death Star, the time does not apply to you.
Exactly, you're just living in
Your time does
another
not
dimension
apply.
at this point. And yeah, that really would be a fantastic race debut for Death Star, as I think he's the only new driver for the Div 1.
Yes, he is. He's the only debutant for today. I mean, we nearly had a last-minute one, but we won't go into details. Details on that one. If you know, you know. As Death Star is now lining up the move, he's going to get DRS. He's going to go for. I don't think he's going to die for it. He's got time.
He kept setting himself up. I think Glavarino now he knows that Death Star has that pace, so I think Glavarino's just going to be trying to make it as difficult as possible. because Gloverino might be a bit afraid that he might not be able to have that same pace to stay within those 3 seconds with only 3 laps left to go, 2.5 laps left to go.
Estania is out on. He's retired on track. I can see him moving in on the full track map. There's the second one. People were not in the driver briefing. We've had 2 retirements on track.
Yeah. Terrible news. I mean,
if only an admin was here. To do something about it.
Too bad this admin's busy commentating on the first race of this season 5, and it's been a pretty good one so far. At least for Australia, I'll say that. I'm not going to say this is going to be the best race that we'll have. I know we're going to have a lot more exciting races in the future, but for Australia, it's actually provided us with some pretty good content as Gloverino continues to keep Death Star behind him heading on to the start of lap 28 now. Or 27.
I think the key for Gloverino is the more time he can keep him behind, the less time Death Star will have to eke out the gap that he needs to keep the positions. So I think the tyres obviously are not in prime position anymore. He doesn't look as threatening as he did in previous laps. So hopefully for Gloverino, he can wrap up. I think I'll go for a second consecutive top 6 finish in the opening round of the season from Bahrain last year. I haven't jinxed him. Don't worry about it.
So far, the penalty-free hasn't been applied yet. So that's pretty good news for us in the commentary.
We have two drivers without any penalties. That's 2 drivers, and that's it. Let's have a look at Povey. Last time I looked, he was on warm warning. Yeah, he's still on warm warning. So yeah, that's brilliant for him, really, isn't it? What everyone wanted to hear. But Gloverino is on 2. He had one pretty early on, and he's only had one since. So fair play, and he's defending quite well against Death Star, who is taking over the Red Bull seat. He's taking over the Red Bull seat that I had last season. Started off with me and Boomy, but he turned it for one race and then there was never seen again. And Garley came in at the end of the season, back from PC,
and was
take over.
Definitely scoring points for Alpine. Of course,
Death Star is going for it finally. They have a little bit of contact.
A little bit of contact there. But
Weiss backs off.
Able to keep the upper hand.
I think the key thing a thing playing into Gloverino's mind is there was a big pace differential going into that corner, is that he's never actually raced Death Star, so he doesn't really know what he's facing. Doesn't know whether he can keep it clean or not, as Death Star has got the move done.
Yeah, it looks like Gloverino's just a little bit down on that DRS one.
And we're on to the leaders are heading onto the final lap now. So, barring a miracle, I think this race will go down under the name of MJ Povey.
If anything, though, we can at least appreciate the fact that the gap continues to build between Nemesis and Povey. So we at least know that in pure outright pace, Nemesis is quicker. He is the faster driver, which gives us hope later on for this season. Of course, we have 9 more races to go after this. So, of course, we have Baku, which was the sprint race that you picked to happen, of course.
Yes,
and Povey picked France for the other one as well. So, yeah.
It's amazing how much influence I can have on the league without being a coordinator.
Just a little bit insider influence. We wanted to have sprint races, but of course everybody...
You gave me 3 options. You gave me 3 options. I didn't have much of an influence. We got 3 options, and the only one we didn't choose was Bahrain, for everyone who's listening. Yeah. But the race is ending, because Nemesis is running the final corner now. He's going to win, but it doesn't really matter about Nemesis, because MJ Povey is going to cross the line behind him, weaving and winning.
Even if we didn't get that, as we'll wait for that annoying cheer to come. Oh, it didn't. Okay, interesting. So we didn't get the Codemasters 1-2. We got a Welsh 1-2, I guess. Well, although
what everyone wanted.
Going under the Ghana flag this race or something, I can't remember.
He's got Cameroon this time.
Okay.
So yeah, he's the first ever Cameroonian to win a Formula 1 race.
And that's something there.
He's made history. We've seen history today in Australia. it'll be on the back pages, I'm sure, tomorrow. All the major sports sites will have it.
Absolutely. I'll pay to put it on probably, the one that comes with all the ads. It'll be on the back page of an ad or something like that, that Povey one. But yeah, as we see the final guys coming around the track, really hoping for a much closer battle in Silverstone. We'll have a lot more overtaking opportunities. It's a bit nicer track to drive, as Vokey's gone ahead and just left the session. But yeah, we see our final driver come across now, Cameron Slater. So yeah, there is the start of the Xbox Division 1 Season 5. A very good way to kick it off as we see Spin taking driver of the day from the game, which I guess leads to the next question of who was your driver of the day?
So first I need to do an Ann Davidson and see who gained the most positions, because that definitely won't influence my decision.
Well, it's probably Spin. That's how the game normally gives it.
Oh shit, yeah. well, there's a couple of people that are close, but to be honest, my driver day is actually Spen. Returning to Div 1 from Div last season, and straight away goes from P10 to P4. Realistically, I don't think he was aiming for podium really, so it couldn't have gone much better for him. Povey, did he really win? No.
Yeah.
No. I don't think you can even praise him for it, to be honest.
Yeah. It's honestly, he's been ruining the sport, so this just kind of ruins it even further for us and just makes everything a bit less exciting. So yeah, seeing him win is a bad thing, I would argue.
Yeah, 100%. It's a disgrace.
And for me, I'd say that my driver of the day is probably going to be Death Star for a debut race, and he didn't even partake in evaluation races, so for him to not know everybody's driving styles and come home P7, that's a pretty respectable result, especially looking at the drivers ahead of him who are absolutely quick, and the drivers behind him who are just as quick as well. So those are going to be, I guess, those are going to be our drivers of the day. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. Kim, is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
To be honest, I just think everyone should team up. We've got to stop him.
We should just put Povey in a Haas car. That would probably be the only fair thing to do, and let everyone else score double points.
Realistic performance.
Definitely, yep.
Realistic performance. Put him in a Haas.
So yeah, that's been FRS Season 5. An expected result, but still an exciting race nonetheless. Thank you, Kim, for commentating alongside me. I've been...
It was a pleasure.
Your co-host, AWD Turbo Guy, alongside Kim Rodalaz. And until we see you guys next time, take it easy.